So before I pack this microphone up officially and actually get it ready to send back to the seller on eBay, I figured I'd just do a quick recap about my experience with this microphone over the past few days. So when the package arrived, I wasn't actually happy with how it was packaged because the bottom of the microphone here was actually up against the wall of the box with no padding or bubble wrap. And I just thought it wasn't packed with care. And then equally, when I first took it out of the box and I started testing it, the audio sounded very tinny, which is probably how it's sounding at the moment, because right now I've got it set to 50 dB, no processing is turned on, all the processing is turned off on the Rodecaster Pro 2, so it's just feeding in enough gain just to pull the natural audio out from here. So you're probably hearing a lot of plosives, you're probably hearing a lot of my breathing, you're probably hearing a very sharp sound also. One of the things I learned about this microphone though is that it's not a good sounding microphone out of the box. So it was a criticism I heard from the podcast stages video, and he actually stated that he won't use this microphone without the high cut filter enabled. So what I'm going to do for the rest of the video, I'm actually going to enable that filter now. So now you can see here, the high cut filter is now enabled. So what I understand on the frequency graph, it actually brings down the brighter side of the audio down 3 dB, which then takes off the edge just on that sharpness that I was probably hearing from before. The processing's still off on the Rodecaster Pro 2, but I am now going to turn that on. So the processing's now set on the Rodecaster Pro 2 to the Podcast Studio preset. What I learned over time is that it depends on the distance that I'm speaking to, because although that this microphone is supposed to eliminate the proximity effect, there is still a proximity effect. So if I'm right up against the microphone like this, then I feel like the neutral preset sounds better on me. And then further back at a normal speaking distance, it goes down to like Podcast Studio and Broadcast. And between those two presets, it just purely depends on how much bass and how much low end I want in my voice. But from what I understand is those different presets complement my voice differently depending on how far I'm talking from the microphone. So if I'm going to be right up against it, like literally talking on the grill, I actually need to be on the neutral preset. Whereas speaking here at a slightly more normal distance, then I can go down to the Podcast Studio preset. You should actually be using these microphones at this type of distance anyway. And if I wanted a bit more bass on my voice, then I'd go for the Broadcast preset. So I'm just going to switch it over to the Broadcast just so for the remainder of the video and where I recap my final thoughts on this. Overall, I've actually enjoyed this microphone. In some ways, I'm regretful that I put through the return request so soon. I should have actually tested it a bit more before I think I was a little bit too hasty last week. But the way I see this microphone is that this specific one, I'm going to return in a way, just because I couldn't actually adjust this grill, and that grill alignment would have annoyed me. I did try, if you watched it in the last video, there's a screw there. Apparently whoever's detached this in the past has actually just shaved the head off completely, so you actually can't detach it anymore. So the microphone now is set to 50 dB with the Broadcast preset on there on the Rodecaster Pro 2, and this is typically where I found that my voice sounded the best, speaking at this distance with enough richness on the low end, but also keeping the characteristics of the microphones on the brightness. Again, I have to keep it on the high cut filter because otherwise the brightness is a bit too sharp for me. But nonetheless, this is the sort of optimum settings that I found with the microphone. And I did actually do some tests yesterday very quickly, but I haven't actually reviewed those results. So I don't know for sure if this is where I would have actually sat long term with, but wherever I have heard, this is where I feel like it probably sounds best for me. So in essence, this is a very good microphone. You just have to work with it, and it's a lot more harder to get the best out of it. So it's not good for any amateur audio engineer or any average streamer, and in some ways probably a bit too advanced for me. So all in all, I did actually manage to get some good quality sound coming out of this audio, but because of this specific microphone and the way that the grill is aligned, it's not something I'm going to be keeping long term. I'm about to pack it up back now and then just keep it there, sitting there ready for DHL to collect. I might consider rebuying another one at a later date, but let me really enjoy the RE20 and the Shure SM7B for what they are. And then I can worry about the RE27 way down the line, depending on how this whole content creation stuff goes for me. But until then, those are my general thoughts on the microphone. It's not the most technical review, but at the end of the day, it's a user experience, and hopefully this helps you in some way. But overall, thanks for watching. Cheers.